So, I hope you've all enjoyed your day so far. And for those of you who haven't, that's probably because you just married Michael Ring. Before I get started with the speech, I've got a message from reception. They said if there's any dentists in the room, please stay away from the lion enclosure. For those of you who don't know me, I'm Ant, and despite my boyish giblets, razor-sharp humour and relentless modesty, I'm actually best known for being a complete nutjob. But that is good for Mike, because all the same people we meet quickly make sure they lose his number. There's a lot of people here I haven't met before, and I would love to chat to you all after this, but I've been drinking very little today, so that wouldn't ruin my speech. So if you do want to chat, you have about a 30-minute window after the speech before I'll be completely incapable of any form of communication. I'd first like to thank the bridesmaids on behalf of Mike for doing a fantastic job today and looking great while doing it. And I'd also like to thank the groomsmen in advance for leading the laughter after all my shit jokes. And for absolutely nailing their task of sitting down and being quiet for half an hour while the wedding happens. Yeah. And lastly, but most importantly, I'd like to thank Amy, who's stolen the show. You look absolutely beautiful, but please don't be too disappointed in your husband. Everyone makes mistakes. But I must say, your new name as a married woman has a lovely ring to it. Mikey, don't worry. I'll be honest, I was absolutely bricking it when Mike asked me to be his best man, because I've never done any form of public speaking before. But after chatting to a few people, they told me that it was essentially just a 10-minute character assassination, which made me feel a lot better because I've got so much material. But a lot of people did raise concern or an eyebrow when they found out I'd be speaking at Mike's wedding. Closer to Frankie Boyle than Trevor McDonald. But I read the first few drafts of my speech to my mum, who deemed it to be vulgar, repulsive and completely inappropriate. So if you're easily offended, rest assured this is much more watered down. The first time I met Mike, I was in school playing football with the lads at break time, when a tall, lanky kid with spots and braces came over and started running circles around me, making noises like a bumblebee and flapping imaginary bumblebee wings.
16, please?
Yeah, a couple of years ago. I looked at him confused as hell, and I asked him politely to fuck off.
Did you hear that right there?
She allowed that. That tactic failed multiple times, and just as I was about to resort to violence, he informed me that I had to tell him to buzz off. For him to leave me alone. Needless to say, I vowed to stay the hell away from that kid for the rest of my life. Nearly 20 years later, here I am. Throughout school, Mike was into video games and Pokemon and didn't play a lot of sport. So, as you can imagine, he was as popular with the ladies as he was when we picked teams in PE. In his very early life, Mike met 3 devilishly handsome young men, and he became part of one of Farnborough's most dangerous and infamous gangs, the HDM, of which 25% of its members have the gang name tattooed on their body. Many years of making bases, playing video games, playing Knockdown Ginger, starting fires, and filming themselves reenacting scenes from Pulp Fiction, saw the gang become a force to be reckoned with and a household name all over a very small part of Howard Drive. Mike's particular talent within the group was playing video games, in particular a video game called Command and Conquer, which Mike learned some very good quotes on, like silos needed, and thanks for the pity laugh because I know only Mike knows what the hell it is. Somewhere around the age of 16, Mike found his first love, the gym. I say love, but it could equally be called an obsession, but that led him to finding his second love, his own biceps. Mike would work out a lot, and his biceps, to be fair, got bigger and bigger. And Mike found this a way of like personal development, a way to better himself and be healthy, but myself and all of his mates knew that this was merely a way to compensate for where he was lacking. Despite Mike's unacceptably large arms, which he never mentioned except every 5 minutes, his sporting talent never seemed to improve, and he might have the worst hand-eye coordination of anyone I've ever met. In fact, I was genuinely surprised that Mike managed to put the ring on Amy's right finger. Mike, of course, made other friends outside of his beloved gang, the HDM. Friends who he met at school, friends who stood by him during his first kiss, dressed as Moses, beard and all.
I was there.
And his first fight against a brick wall, which he lost, like an idiot. I personally have had the pleasure of accompanying Mike on 2 holidays with this group of friends. The first holiday was to Valencia. We all had a good laugh in Valencia, and by far our best night was our last night, when we stayed out and got drunk and partied in an open-air nightclub next to the beach, getting to know all the beautiful Spanish ladies, except for Mike, who needed to pee as soon as we got into the nightclub. But since Mike famously can't pee in public, and they only had urinals, he went home as soon as we got in the nightclub. Although that is a slight improvement from all the times that Mike would come around my house as a kid and completely miss the toilet and piss all over my floor. And his own socks.
That was one time.
But Mike did have my back in Valencia. There was one night, went badly for me. I bought some hash brownies off a stranger in the street, and he had to be with me all night while I was vomiting uncontrollably into a toilet, giving me water, even though I demanded that it be given to me in the language of Stegosauri. The second holiday I went on with this group of lads saw us go to Aya fucking Napa. This was a truly insane week, memorable for staying in a crappy rundown hotel owned by Turkish mafia and having a crazy Irish barman. We of course wasted no time in getting drunk with the barman and destroying the mafia's wall which led onto our bedroom. Other memorable moments you should be sure to ask the boys about tonight include drinking shots of sun cream, Chlamydia River, Mars bars, bags of salt, Storm from X-Men, and Free Willy. Our most recent journey abroad saw the HDM and Mike's school friends reunite on an epic stag weekend in Prague, where Mike learned the valuable lesson of what it feels like to have a 200-kilogram woman rub her 100-kilogram breasts all over your body while you're dressed as Gandalf the Grey. Although Sam, who stood up earlier, took his role on the stag do very seriously indeed and found like what it's like to have a 200-kilogram woman sit on your face. The trip was actually touch and go at times. We almost lost Johnny and Martin to high-speed bobsleigh crashes, Will to an overdose of nasal-ingested pepper, Sam to large quantities of alcohol and strippers, and Mike to a drunk Irish guy wearing a mohawk shoving a dildo in his mouth. But we all returned safe, and Mike's now finally prepared for marriage. Joking aside, having known Mike nearly my whole life, I can truly say he's one of a kind. He's a kind-hearted, caring, selfless person, and he's instantly liked by whoever he meets. He's an absolute legend amongst his friends, He's known best as the hench guy who drinks straight vodka, plays strategy games, and has atrocious hand-eye coordination. He's also an incredibly apt worker and seems to prove that he can learn whatever he puts his mind to and excel at it, evidenced yesterday by a bunch of recruiters trying to offer him more money. He's been my best friend for as long as I can remember, and I can never thank him enough for all the memories and laughter he's given me over the years, and he's everything you could ask for in a best mate. Despite his unique characteristics, Mike, like all of us, has been through some troubling times in his life, and although his family and friends were always there for him and tried to help, I don't think many of us can comprehend the challenges Mike faced. But one day I got a phone call from Mike, and he told me he met a girl. And for the first time in too long, Mike sounded truly happy. And not long after that, he was back again, a happy man like the one I grew up with. And I really believe there's one person who played more of a role in that than anybody else could have. So I'd like to propose the first toast of my speech to Amy. And that brings us to today, where Mike and Amy have become joined in matrimony in the company of their families and friends and several thousand animals. I'm absolutely privileged to be your best man, Mike. Anyone who knows me knows just how unlikely a choice I am. But at the same time, there's not many people in the world that could put up with me as a best mate for all these years. So Mike, I feel obliged to offer you some advice for this to work for you. Firstly, don't be stubborn. Secondly, listen to what she says. Thirdly, play less PlayStation and watch more rom-coms. That won't help. Fourth, don't get drunk, ever. And fifth, always say sorry. I guess what I'm trying to say is just don't be yourself at all. And you'll be fine. Amy, if I were to offer you some advice, it would be to just look on the bright side. At least you didn't marry him earlier in your life. I can see by the faces and spirits of everyone here today that you're all as happy as I am for the newly wedded couple. So let's enjoy the day with them, and as Mike likes to put it, let's get spasticated.
That's words for your one.
So please join me once again in the toast to congratulate Mike and Amy, to wish them an amazing life together, and to wish Amy patience. And in true Mike fashion, let's toast the proverbial vodka one more time to Mike and Amy.
Cheers, buddy.
It's over.
It's gone. No stop.
Yeah, good.